Okay, folks, what's in the news? I don't think you really realize what's in the news because I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to what goes on when we talk about the flow. Humanist group strips Richard Dawkins of award for questioning gender theory. And you're probably saying, Richard who? Now listen, y'all. This is the most famous atheist in the world right now. Take a listen to this and maybe this will remind you.
Dawkins sees as the absolute idiocy of religious belief. Dawkins sees as the absolute idiocy of religious belief. And here is how he's described the Judeo-Christian God.
A vindictive, bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser, a misogynistic, homophobic, racist, infanticidal, genocidal, filicidal, pestilential, megalomaniacal, sadomasochistic, capriciously malevolent bully.
Make anybody look bad. When I was debating Johnny last summer, he didn't really have answers for my things. Well, what mechanism?
Whoa. Let's just hold up here just a minute. So Richard Dawkins, you hear him talking about the Judeo-Christian God? Basically, top atheist in the world. He's just out of his mind, and he says if we could just get rid of religion, everything would be good. Well, what happened to him today? Or what's in the news today? Humanist group strips Richard Dawkins of his award. In 1996, he was the Humanist of the Year. Guess what? He ain't now. Why? Because the groups that hate Christianity, because Christianity's trying to keep some boundaries, they're eating each other alive. And the thing is, I wish Larry Serber were here because he's probably turning over in his grave right now. Listen to what he says about Richard Dawkins.
And me. God blow on dust and make a tree and sell man? Or how do you live after your brain has disintegrated? How do you do that? How can you go on to heaven or hell with your brain? You're in your brain. You're part of your brain. And so he decided his strategy was going to be to attack my idol, Richard Dawkins. And I still stand behind Richard Dawkins. He's a fine man. He's got about 16 times the IQ of Johnny Robertson. And he knows so much, and he's a kind man. But Johnny had...
If he knows so much, then why did he cross the gender folk? And if he's such a kind person, why doesn't he leave the gender people alone? You see what we're saying, folks? This is just how it goes. I really cannot figure out why people don't, at some point, if you're watching me here in Henry County, the two states area, at some point you've got to say, we have got to stop pushing back on these folk that are in the Church of Christ, these folk that are associated with what does the Bible say. What always happens, we always have the last word on y'all. Richard Dawkins is now in the doghouse. He's the toughest, the roughest individual out there on religious people. And you know what? I agree with him. For the most part, the people that he's talking about, they are a bunch of nuts. This video that I was showing, this behavior that's going on right here.
Dawkins sees as the absolute idiocy of religious belief. Dawkins sees as the absolute...
I say these are idiots too. That's exactly what they are. And I'm saying idiots in the English sense of the word idiot, how it's used today, the meaning today. Absolute idiocy. Absolute idiocy. I agree. And Richard Dawkins basically says if we can just get rid of them, then everything will be good. Well, okay. So all the churches shutting down this year, 2020, 2021. And did it help Richard Dawkins in his crowd? No. Richard Dawkins gets stripped of his reward or award. And, as I say, unfortunately, we don't have Larry to call up tonight, but we dialed him up from the dead and let him have his say. And he's right in there with Richard Dawkins. Take a listen to this.
I despise, hate, detest, and loathe the Church of Christ and everything about it. I hate them. I really do. The better I get to know them, the more I hate them. I want to rid the world of the churches of Christ.
I don't know anything about you. I could replace you with someone.
Okay, so now you have it. He wants to rid the world of the Church of Christ.
I despise, hate, detest the world of the churches of Christ.
Okay. You want to rid the world of the churches of Christ. And what will it do for you? It won't do anything for you. It's not going to help y'all, because then you just basically, you're going to end up chewing each other up, and that's exactly what is taking place. So that's where we are tonight. That's one of the headlines of the many headlines. What did Richard Dawkins do? Well, Richard Dawkins weighs in on the gender issue on Twitter. And he brings up an individual who was over a chapter of the NAACP, and he says it was a white chapter president. I don't know anything about Rachel. I can't be up on everything. I know the reverse of it. I have a book that I just absolutely love, and it is a book about economy and things of that nature. It's a fairly dated book, and that's one of the reasons I like to read it, because I want to see what they were doing in 1969. This guy is a very popular writer. His name is Lawrence Dennis. Well, I find out because I decided to read up on him maybe last month, and I find out that Lawrence Dennis was actually, you see that picture right there? I actually have another picture right quick. I don't think I do. Let me go there. I do. Look at this. This is Lawrence Dennis. Well, I found out last month that he actually is a black man, and he practiced what you call passing. He could pass for a white person, and he actually did. Once he got old enough to get away from his mother, he then ended up passing as a white person because of the way he was treated back in Jim Crow South. Who can blame him? But still, I'm saying the different things that go on, you never know what is going to get you. And so here is Dawkins basically saying that I would actually say this woman's last name. I don't know how to pronounce it. But he said that she was vilified for trying to identify as a black person as a president of an NAACP. And then he ties in gender. Some men choose to identify as women, and some women choose to identify as men. You will be vilified if you deny that they literally are what they identify as. No more Humanist Award. That's done. They all weigh in. And now he tries to apologize. I do not intend to disparage trans people. I see that my academic discuss question has been misconstructed as such, and I deplore this. Why do you deplore it? It was also not my intent to ally in any way with Republican bigots in the U.S. now exploiting this issue. Well, Serber and Dawkins, and you're not as smart as you think you are. See how this works? And so, as I say, we always get the last word. So why don't we just, at some point begin to realize it could be because we're the ones that's actually telling you what you need to hear. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I really knew how this was going to go when we started that. And so let me give you something else to chew on here right quick. Now, here's my gender talk tonight. Listen, folks. So, you think this is not dangerous territory? If somebody had said last week that Richard Dawkins would get in trouble for saying something, the entire world would have said, there is nothing Richard Dawkins hadn't said. This guy is a loose cannon, and he just absolutely hates Christianity. He hates anybody that even likes anything to do with conservatism. He's out there. But he's, one of the most popular atheists, well known in the world. And he was Larry Serber's hero. And guess what? These folk right here took him out. Take a listen.
So there'll be a top surgery vlog and a chest reveal at some point, but not now. This video is why I'm not a boy. That's right, if you're new here. Hi, I'm Ash, and I'm comfortable letting you know that I'm an AFAB, assigned female at birth, person who in the last few years has chopped off my hair, had my chest surgically removed, and have typically exclusively shopped in the men's section for clothing. All that being said, I am not a boy. What? That doesn't make sense. Ash, no hair, no boobs, no dresses, not a boy? How can that be? I'll tell you, but first, I need to let you know that this video is being sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes in design, editing, graphic illustration. Experiment with appearance. Wonder how you'd look with a different haircut, a new tattoo, as the other gender? Draw it! The effects are totally non-consequential because you didn't actually do anything to yourself. Except maybe learn. So I took Brooke Glazer's Intro to Procreate class. Time. Excuse me, sir. Miss. I'm sorry, miss. Excuse me, miss! Miss! It's just that from the back all I saw was the short hair, and I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry!
Girls should have long hair. Boys should have short hair.
So I get the whole feminist and it's your body thing, but when women don't shave, isn't it like unhygienic? Plus they look like dudes.
Girls must be hairless. Boys should be grizzlies.
Ooh, don't sit like that. It's unladylike. Put together.
Girls, cross your legs. Boys, man spread. Unless you're a wimpy baby.
Oh, shoot, I must be in the wrong restroom. Oh, wait, double mistake. No, I'm not. I thought you were a gentleman. Oofda, that would have been awkward. You know, you really should wear some more form-fitting clothing to avoid situations like this. And take...
Okay, are you getting it? This is Ash, and Ash shops in the boys section, in the men's section. All of this going on, and I'm saying if you can figure it out, you are smarter than I am, because about the time you decide what you need to say and how you need to say it, it'll change on you. But here's what I'm going to say to you. She's of age, but I'm saying just put it in this terms. Let's say 14.
AFAB, assigned female at birth, person who in the last few years has chopped off my hair, had my chest surgically removed, and have typically exclusively shopped in the men's section for clothing. All that...
Okay, make this 14 years old instead of 20-something, which I don't even know. She wants to be called genderqueer. So let's just say genderqueer. This genderqueer person wants to look like this, had breasts removed, had herself sewn back up like a boy, 14 years old. Let's just make her 14 years old. Let's find another Ash. How about we say, how about Cash? Let's find a Cash that's 14. And this is the way she, genderqueer, looks. And now remember, this person, just because genderqueer here doesn't have breasts, doesn't mean that she doesn't have the rest. Genderqueer. I called her by a pronoun. You get what? We cannot say she. Remember what she said? Oh, excuse me, miss. She doesn't want, I did it again. Genderqueer does not want to be called miss, she. Genderqueer wants to be like genderqueer. So, man, this is tough. I'm telling you, having a conversation with you is tough. What if I was having it with genderqueer? So, genderqueer is Cash, 14 years old, and genderqueer, which looks like a boy, looks like a boy, and let's say your 14-year-old son becomes friends with genderqueer at school. And your 14-year-old son comes in and says, Mom and Dad, do you mind if Cash comes over? And they're like, fine, Cash can come over. And so basically, you end up becoming friends, and hey, friends sleep over. 2 or 3 individuals come over. Let's say you got another friend besides genderqueer, Cash. And you talk your parents into, we're all going to camp out in the backyard. And so basically, your family figures out that just because genderqueer doesn't have breasts, that doesn't mean that genderqueer doesn't have the rest. And they have a cow. What are you doing bringing a girl over here? Oh, Mom, Dad, she's not Genderqueer, Cash is not a girl. And you know what? If you're in the particular the right state or the wrong state, depending on how you want to look at it, you could actually be turned into social service. And especially if it gets into the school system and they find out that you're actually bashing. And listen, I am not bashing. I am telling you how it is. This is the world that we're in. It's not where we're headed, it's what we're in. And guess who just got a good spanking? Thinking that if you just get all the Christians out of here, and I'm with you, Richard Dawkins, all of these fake Christians are not helping us. But there are some real Christians, and a lot of them need to wake up, because they basically are thinking, well, if we'll hunker down and hide and don't let anybody know that we're against all the fake Christians, then everything will be all right. Nope, 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 nope. They're coming for you too. I'm saying, when I say they, I'm talking about the consequences. Now, I'm really not going to do much on this one. That is one of the hunker down, like miss us. We are not going to be very open and let people know exactly what it is that we believe. But guess what? This is what happened to them this past week.
With the CBS 46 exclusive, a Metro Atlanta woman told by her church to repent or be banned from the congregation. This stems from her involvement in a homosexual relationship.
Well, this is happening at the Woodstock Church of Christ on Rope Mill Road, that's in Cherokee County. CBS 46's Adam Murphy live there with the very latest. Adam.
Good evening. This church has been home to Crystal Cox for about 5 years now and was basically her family until they learned of her personal relationship with another woman.
Okay, do you have any product in there yet, ma'am?
At the Hair Bar Salon in Woodstock, there is plenty of love to go around.
Lauren, I love you. Lauren's clients, I don't know you, but I love you.
Okay, now let's look at it. Let's think about it. So basically, you dodge the bullet with the coronavirus. You shut down church. And you're like, man, we got past that. And then what happens? Open back up, and all of a sudden, you find out that one of the members is a lesbian, and you write her a letter and tell her that she's going to have to repent. Now you're all over Channel 46 News. How about that? Well, you cannot win this stuff, y'all. Look, this is Channel 46, and this is another church. This one is a Baptist church, Southern Baptist. Take a listen.
Big story tonight, all-inclusive outrage leading to a church being put on notice. The church in question received an email from the Southern Baptist Convention informing them they're in violation of bylaws pertaining to membership.
CBS 46's Adam Murphy live in Townview Baptist on Shiloh Road in Kennesaw with the latest details. Adam, good evening.
Right here, it comes from the Southern Baptist Convention. It was sent to Townview Baptist Church, informing them that they have concerns with their decision to extend membership to practicing LGBTQ congregants.
And I hope that you'll ask God to free you from any fear that you might have.
For more than 3 decades, Townview Baptist Church in Kennesaw has welcomed everyone with open arms.
Okay. You see how this is going? You decide to open up your church to everybody. 3 decades. For those of y'all who don't know what a decade is, we're basically talking about 30 years ago. Man, these folk were really out there 30 years ago, but see what they're trying to do is they're trying to dodge the bullet. And now they got the Southern Baptists on them, and they're getting a letter. Well, then you have these other individuals that have been hunkered down during Corona, and they're also individuals that don't really get out there and present that there is one true church, and the Christians are in that one true church, and that church is the body of Christ, the church of Christ, the church of God that you read about in the New Testament. And they're dodging the bullet, and all of a sudden, now they're in trouble all over Metro Atlanta News. So, you see what we're doing here? Listen, you cannot escape the consequences of whatever it is that's scaring you to death. You're just not going to be able to do it. You can just forget about it. So then if you're going to suffer, why not suffer for the truth? Now, that really is my intro. That's where I was trying to head. Let me just give you this one more. This is the one we started with, Richard Dawkins, 1996 Humanist Award revoked. And with that headline, there is this video of a transgender woman on trying to get on a plane.
I have immense anxiety leading up to going through security. And this being said, I totally recognize the privilege of having all of my documents correct. So the gender marker on my license, for example, says female. But going through the scanner, there's a male scanner and a female scanner in the TSA checkpoint. And looking at me, you know, I look like a woman and I am a woman, so that's great. I love having cis-assuming privilege when I feel unsafe, such as in an airport. But going through the scanner, I always have an anomaly between my...
Okay. So you look like a woman, but you're not. You can say, she says she is. But guess what? Scanners aren't people. And the TSA scanner would not let, I don't know what this person wants to be called. She said she's a woman. The TSA would not play. What is TSA? That's the folk that are patting you down at the airport when you go through there with something you're not supposed to have. So she goes through, there is a male and there's a female scanner. And so you didn't know that? Listen, when these TSA people put you through the scanner, they can now see, it's like x-ray, y'all. It's stuff that we used to see on television that was play, a joke, like somebody had some x-ray glasses and they could see through your clothes. They can now, and they can tell what gender you are. So you got women scanning women and men scanning men. And so she is planning on going through the woman's, but that ain't gonna work. Why? Because the scanner has not been politically corrected yet. What do you mean? Well, the scanner doesn't know that you're not supposed to point out the fact that the gender that they're claiming isn't real. Man, what a messed up world. It's gonna get messier. And it surely isn't going to be any better by hiding what you really believe. Now, folks, here we are tonight. And I got that in front of you in 19 minutes. That's a lot of stuff going on. And that's a lot of current information going on. I beg you to show that 20 minutes to your elders and the preachers in the Church of Christ. It is time to grow a backbone and stop playing like you are going to escape. You're not going to escape anything. All those folks, elderships that were basically saying, okay, we'll do this so that the health department won't come down on us and we'll get by. Oh yeah? And so what if you end up having somebody that becomes transgender in one of the churches where you're an elder and you decide that you're going to practice what the Bible says about trying to get someone to repent? You'll be on the news. You better not, I'm telling you, I'm saying this for real. You better not send a letter. And I'm saying to the ones down in Georgia that did send a letter, y'all don't remember Collinsville, Oklahoma, sent a letter to a woman about adultery and she ended up suing them? I cannot believe that y'all sent a letter out and then put all your names on it. All 4 elders' names are on it. I'm giving you a thumbs up for trying to actually stand up, but man, now the fact that I actually know where they stand anyway, I know they're not standing up. So here we are. Here's basically where we are. Let's just see. I'm going to move some stuff over, but I'm pretty much not going to let that bother me. Okay, look here, folks. Let's see. Hebrews 10:33. I want you to think about this. Now, I really don't get why that's doing that, but I want you to see all of that one if I have to go to every one of the single scriptures by pulling the Bible up. All right, look at this. Hebrews 10:33. We're doing a Hebrews class on Tuesdays, and we were getting to know Hebrew Christians on Tuesday. And this is one of the things we found out about them. A lot of people basically have taught you probably that the Hebrew Christians were a bunch of losers because they were having difficulty. And an epistle was written to them. So on Tuesday, we opened it up and started reading their mail. And guess what we found out? We started reading profile passages. In other words, we were reading personal parts of the letter that were said to them about their past. And boy, these are some very, very good individuals. And I'm not saying that the people that are on Channel 46 News in Atlanta are not good people. But good people actually start acting bad sometimes in order to escape what? Being made a gazing stock. What does that mean? Nobody likes all the time being looked at and vilified and constantly criticized. But you know what? You're going to have that sometime in your life, because if not, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. That's a song lyric, isn't it? Man, what are we talking about here? What are we teaching our children? What are we actually setting ourselves up for as far as the world is concerned? There is no peace where everybody just lets everybody else do what everybody else wants to do. And so why not just go ahead and be what these individuals were said to have been? Partly whilst you were made a gazing stock, both by reproaches and afflictions, and partly whilst you became companions of them that were so used. So you got two different things. And this is great. You have individuals that this epistle is being written to that somebody might say, I don't want to be compared to the Hebrew Christians. Well, I do. I absolutely regard these individuals very highly. They were willing to be a gazing stock and be reproached for what they believed in the past. And he is trying to encourage them in this epistle to keep it up. Not only that, reproaches and afflictions, and partly whilst you became companions of them that were so used. So you know what? We have individuals out there that absolutely love our stand and our willingness to be a gazing stock, to be reproached and suffer afflictions. And we love you back. And we basically are encouraging the rest of you, you need to be companions with somebody right now that is willing to stand up for the truth. You need to encourage the person who is the presenter where you are, the person who is supposed to be preaching the gospel. You need to encourage him. Well, how do you do that? Well, one of the things you can do is you can tell him and the elders about a free copy of a book called Arkansas Angels. The Church of Christ was the fastest growing religion in the 1960s. Why? Because of individuals like these. These individuals, the reason it's called Arkansas Angels is because they're messengers. They are preachers in western Arkansas, up around Jonesboro, Arkansas, just the other side of the Mississippi River from Memphis. And this is an inspirational book about the kind of preachers that they were. Well, what kind of preachers were they? They were the kind of preachers that they spoke because they believed. We believe, therefore we speak. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 13. They were speaking like that because they couldn't be quiet. Why is that? Because there was fire in the word was like fire in their bones. Now, Jeremiah 20, verse 9. So they could not be still. And so that fire was burning. That fire made them speak. And guess what? They spoke, and they were married to women that stoked that fire, stood behind them. That's exactly right. Encouraged them and pressed them to keep going. That's the kind of wife that I have. I remember in 1985, we were about to have a split in Clarksville, Texas, and a preacher named Goebel Music just happened to have been scheduled for 10 years to be coming in for a meeting. And he calls up to the elders. He said, you know, I was scheduled 10 years ago, and it's time for me to come in. And they said, well, yes, go ahead and come. And guess what? He kept the split from being one half, like only a third of the individuals that were planning to go well, half of them were planning to leave, trying to split the church, but it ended up only being a third because of the way he preached. And so my wife actually bought me a book called The Bible Only Makes Christians Only and the Only Christians. And it was written by Thomas Warren, and she put this note in the front of it in 1985, and it said, "You are my Goebel." You know what that meant? This guy's the most controversial individual I had ever seen. I'm saying he would go and preach places, and the elders would come up and say, "We don't want you to talk about marriage, divorce, and remarriage." And he actually, in Memphis, Tennessee, stood up after an elder had told him that and said, this elder right here pointed at him, called his name, said, "He told me not to preach on marriage, divorce, and remarriage, and that's why I'm going to do it." And guess what happened when he got through? That elder was the person who was repenting, asking for prayers to be strengthened so that he could stand up for the truth. You're not doing anybody a favor by not talking about the sin that's very prevalent. And so, for her to write in there, "You are my Goebel," man, that was stoking that fire. And so, my son, he's married to someone like that too. You won't often hear me thanking B.J. Clark of the Memphis School of Preaching, but I do thank B.J. Clark for helping my son Caleb get his wife. What do you mean by that? We were in Elizabethton, Tennessee, and we were there to talk with B.J. Clark about the fact of all these people that he's running around with who are all ashamed of the gospel, and they're fooling around with people that use mechanical music, women preachers, and he won't say anything. So we're basically going to Elizabethton, Tennessee to give him documentation to show him the people he's fooling around with. And he got over in a corner and he just kind of cowered over there in the corner and wouldn't talk to us. But the members started acting just like the denominational people, sectarian people around here. Boy, they started trying to take our camera away from us or whatever and put it up on Facebook. And Caleb's wife now, who he had never heard of, had no even idea that she existed, saw that Facebook video and she said, "I'm going to marry that guy." And she did. They were married not even a year. I don't even think it was 6 months from then. See what I'm saying? These individuals back here in these days, in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, these individuals had fire burning in their bones, the fire of the Word of God, and they spoke, and their women stoked those fires. And we're saying I believe that we have enough for, I have no idea how many of these books that we have, and they're free. Elders, preachers, you don't have to be an elder or a preacher. You can be a member in a congregation, and you know your elders need to have this and need to read it. They need to read about these individuals that many of them are old enough to even to remember. You can email me, joeblue81@gmail.com. I'll just go ahead and take the time tonight to make sure that I get this up. And let me just let myself relax here just a minute so I can find an intro. All right. This is my, this will do. This is my class intro, and this is my phone number, and this is my email. So, what I want you to do is, if you want a copy of the book for your elders and preacher, then you email me at joeblue81@gmail.com, or you text me 276-806-2150. Don't know why my slides are moved over like this, but I want to make sure you get my phone number. I'm saying text me. Don't everybody be calling me about this book. Text me, and make sure you text your name and your correct mailing address. Okay, now, then what happens? You read this book, and it will stoke you, and then you ask for this one, Muscle and a Shovel, and it will help you with the job that you're involved with, and that is helping somebody see the truth. This is basically an account. You know, I wish that Michael Schenker was watching tonight, and because the exact same thing that happened to him is happening to an individual with whom we're associated right now. We're actually looking at building insurance in the Martinsville Church of Christ. And so we have an agent that came around to talk to us about new insurance. And guess what? What do you think he does? He basically sells insurance all around to churches. And this individual was actually working on the machinery. I think it was maybe copiers and different things like that. I do forget some of the details, but he was a Baptist and he was going around and he was supplying all of these customers, and he got to talk to the pastors. He would go to their church building and to work on this or to give them supplies, and he got to talk to all these different kind of pastors, and all of them were saying different stuff. And he had a member of the Church of Christ back at the shop who was telling him the truth and telling him what to ask, and he eventually obeyed the gospel himself. And 20 years later, he put in manuscript, or he had written all that stuff down. He got the manuscript out and he published it. And this is what it is. It's the thrilling account of him getting to do all that. Well, we gave it to our insurance salesman who is in the exact same position, and we're hoping and praying that he ends up seeing the truth as well. So what will this do? This is a first-hand account of an individual who gets to, you just don't, it doesn't get any better than that, really, because you see us try to get pastors to answer our questions, and what do we get? We get the police called on us. And so these individuals, like Michael Shank, a golden opportunity, and that book, Muscle and Shovel, we'll give them to you as long as we can for free, or you can get on Amazon and buy it yourself. And so there it is, Muscle and Shovel. It basically is talking about your mind is a muscle. You have to use it, and you have to dig deep, like when you're looking for treasure. Muscle and a shovel, you need both of those. You have to use your brain muscle, and you have to dig deep in order to find the truth. Why? Because all this stuff is going on. You see all these individuals just giving up on everything. They're hiding the truth. Now, what we're talking about tonight is, in the little bit of time that we have left, is we're basically wanting you to think about for a minute, and I'm just going to have to deal with these slides unless it happens to be one thing that I am not thinking about. Let's see. No. I will never figure it out on the fly. Okay. Yeah, it's like they're just going to be over to the side. So, Matthew 15:12. Then came his disciples and said unto him, Knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? Now, Jesus is talking to everybody publicly about how bad the doctrine of the Pharisees is and how incorrect they are about this business of washing all these different things, and he's really letting them have it, and it's scaring his disciples. They said the Pharisees are offended. So that's how the disciples were early on. You may be feeling like that too. You may be saying, Johnny, what in the world? You want us to get out in front of all this? Well, notice this. Acts 4:13. Acts 4:13 is after Jesus has already ascended. Now when they saw, that is the Pharisees, all of these chief rulers and the high priests, when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were unlearned and ignorant men, they marveled, and they took knowledge of them that they had been with Jesus. Now, listen, spending time with Jesus and spending time with the epistles, like the epistle to the Hebrews, it will change you. That's the disciples after the resurrection. What happened to them? And one of the things that happened to them is something that you really do need to pay attention to, especially right now, because you may actually be in this very position and you don't even realize it. Now get this. In John 18, Jesus is in the garden. He is praying, and his disciples are there with him, and now it's time for him to be arrested. Jesus, therefore, knowing all things that should come upon him, went forth and said unto them, that is, these people that have come with Judas, Whom seek you? Then he asked them again, Whom seek you? And they said, Jesus of Nazareth. And Jesus answered, I have told you that I am he. If therefore you seek me, let these go their way. Now you ask yourself, how could he be this way? He knew what was going to happen. Jesus knew exactly what was going to happen. He had already prayed about it. He had already made up his mind that he was going to go through with this. And so they're watching. His disciples are watching. And he's basically letting them have permission to go. But notice what happens. Now, Matthew 26:51, and behold, one of them, if you were to read the other accounts like John, this is Matthew, one of them, which was actually Peter, which was with Jesus, stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck a servant of the high priest and smote off his ear. Now, I want you to notice, they've been with Jesus even before they got bold. I'm saying before they really knew what was going on, they had been with Jesus, and that's what's happening now. They've been with the resurrected Jesus here. And these folk are looking at them, and they're basically saying, man, what in the world? These folk, Peter and John, this boldness, they're unlearned and ignorant men, and they marveled to acknowledge to them that they had been with Jesus. Well, they were with Jesus in the garden too when all that happened. And the problem here is they don't know exactly, they don't fully get it. They don't know how things work. I know that because look what Jesus said to Peter. Thinkest thou that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? In other words, Peter, do you not realize that this is what I'm supposed to do? And I could deliver myself? Now here's why I'm saying that you need this. It could be that you're getting conflicted signals yourself and you don't know what to do. Can I tell you this? It's always the right thing to do, speak up. It is always the right thing to speak up for the truth. Why in the world would you want to keep silent about the truth? I mean, are you not seeing Richard Dawkins? This is the roughest, hardest person on Christianity that there is. And does he get a pass? No. He's taken down by the transgender crowd. So then you got individuals that are ashamed of the truth, and they are really not that forceful and out front about the true church of Christ. And do they get a pass? No. Get taken down by a letter that they wrote to one of the women who needs correction. You're not going to get a pass. There is no secrecy. Standing up for the truth is the right thing to do. Now, I get that you've been hearing this message since the 1970s that we got to be the friendliest church in town. The preacher's got to be the friendliest man. He got to be a mixer and all that kind of stuff. Baloney. Baloney. Not true. But I get that you could possibly be an individual who just didn't get it. You basically were confused with all the conflicting messages, but you don't need to stay that way. Look at this, John 18:26. One of the servants of the high priest, being his kinsman, who ear Peter cut off, said, did I not see thee in the garden with him? Now, what's the point of bringing this up? You were praising Peter over here. I am praising Peter. Peter was he was defending Jesus to the death here. He basically was ready to start the revolution, but that's not what Jesus was about at that point. Jesus was not about delivering himself. He was about delivering the world from sin by offering himself as the sin offering. So he went on his way. But Peter then sees them arrest him, and he sees what's going on. He's standing close enough to see what's going on, and the next thing you know, somebody says, hey, I'm kinfolk to the dude you cut his ear off, and I believe that I saw you in the garden with him. Now what does Peter do? He takes that other route that we were talking about. He denies him 3 times. Listen, y'all, there's no point in denying what you believe. How far are you going to let people push you? And how far are we going to let things go in our nation? You might be, I figure that there are plenty of people saying, well, what in the world can the Church of Christ do? Y'all, there used to be 2 million of us. And that's about what they say there are of the transgenders now. And it used to be the case when all the stuff about homosexuality started out, it was basically 1% of the population, which came about 2 million back in the day. And look at all the noise and all the changes. I mean, we've changed, our entire culture has changed now. The only person who doesn't know it yet is the TSA scanning machine. They don't have sense enough to not say that a woman is actually a man. They have not been programmed to be politically correct yet. And I don't think they're going to get there. So, you see what we're saying? What is it going to do for you? Now look at this. Oh, they will threaten you? Look at Jesus' disciples after they got the message right. Resurrected. Jesus is on the throne. What is it going to do for you to hide and let Satan have his way when Jesus is actually on the throne? And look how these people begin to act. This is Acts 4 again. They had just seen the boldest of them and said they've been with Jesus. But that it spread no further among the people, let us straightly threaten them that they speak henceforth to no man in this name. Acts 4:21 again. So when they had further threatened them, they let them go, finding nothing how they might punish them because of the people, for all the men glorified God for that which was done. Now, you know what? We have a lot of supporters in this area. Those of you who are watching on YouTube, you may not realize it, but we have a lot of supporters in this area. What does that mean? Individuals who are saying, go. They are telling us, get it, get with it. Now, a lot of these people don't go to church, and I don't know what to do about this right now. I'm doing the part that I'm supposed to do, and that is preaching the gospel. But a lot of these people out there in the sectarian churches, they don't go to church, and they will tell you that they get us on TV. And they say, we don't go to that sectarian church anymore. We watch y'all on television. I can't do anything about that in the sense that they have to make their own decision. One individual made that decision just before I came on the air tonight. And so individuals that you never thought or you never dreamed, you just don't know, that's the point. If you're going to make up in your mind that you can tell the future, why not tell it positively? So they're punishing, they're basically having all these people glorify God because of them, and the people are taken up for them. Acts 4:22. For the man was above 40 years old, whom the miracle of healing was showed. So they had a lot of support. And being own company and reported all the things the chief priests and the elders had said unto them. Now, you know what we did? We just made full circle back to Hebrews chapter 10. They went to their company. Who is their company? The individuals who, even though they themselves were not a gazing stock, and they themselves might not be being reproached at this moment and afflicted like Peter and John were, but they were individuals which were companions with them. Man, if you're a member of the Church of Christ and you are our companion in this fight, God bless you. You are part of the company, and you are so very important. How in the world could we make it without individuals that are part of the company that encourages those who are out here being a gazing stock, who are reproached, and who are afflicted? And we're not afflicted to the point nearly that those individuals were back then. And so, what are we basically saying? We just came around and we ended up encouraging all of us. Now, I want us to basically think now, okay, Johnny, you've got to stir it up. You've got us questioning. So what is it that you're trying to say? Okay, this is going to be the same all through here. This says headlines. And I'm going to basically do a lightning round here where you're seeing New Testament Christianity, first century headlines. Are you ready? This is what you would have seen if you had been in the company. Preachers do jail time. There we are, Acts 4:2, being grieved that they taught the people and preached through Jesus the resurrection from the dead. They laid hands on them and put them in hold unto the next day, for it was now eventide. Headlines, preachers do jail time. Headlines, preachers do jail time. Again, yes, Acts 5:17. These same individuals who had just been put in jail were released by an angel. Then the high priest rose up, and all that they were with him, which is the sect of the Sadducees, were filled with indignation. Why? And laid their hands on the apostles and put them in common prison. Why did they do that? All that threatening that they did in Acts chapter 4, it didn't do any good. They actually went out and began preaching again. So, you see how this is working? Preachers do jail time. Headlines. What? The new headline is, one dead in Jerusalem. Well, what happened? Acts 5:5. Ananias, hearing these words, fell down and gave up the ghost, and all them that heard these things. Well, what are you telling me? Listen, you try to escape your responsibility. You try to be something that you're not. You try to be less than what God wants you to be in order to escape some gazing stock, escape being a gazing stock, escape being reproached, escape affliction. And what can happen? Well, Ananias died. Well, let me change this headline. Actually, it should be two dead. Acts 5:7, it was about the space of 3 hours after he died when his wife, not knowing what was done, came in. And she told the same lie. What was that lie? Well, it's basically they were trying to be a part of the company, pretending that they had sold some land and gave the full amount. And they got caught lying to God. See, these are the headlines, and these are the things that are happening now too. You think you're going to escape the persecution and the suffering that goes along with standing up for the truth? How are you going to escape it? Look at our nation now. This is the result. Our nation as it is the result of everybody escaping their responsibility, trying to, for standing up for what is right and pushing back. It's not doing you any good, is it? Headlines. Another death today in the holy city. Man. 59. And they stoned Stephen, calling upon God and saying, Lord Jesus, receive my spirit. And he kneeled down and he cried with a loud voice, Lord, lay not this sin to their charge. And when he had said this, he fell asleep. Headline, preacher prays for the killers. How about that? Another death today in the holy city, but the preacher actually prays for his killers while they are stoning him. Man. So what you're saying is that you can't be taking the stuff personal. That's exactly right. These people do not know what they're doing when they're persecuting you. They don't realize when they killed Jesus, they didn't realize they were killing the Prince of Life. They did not realize they were killing their Messiah. And guess what? It didn't hinder him from accomplishing his purpose, did it? See what I'm saying? There's no sense in you getting all personal about the fact that individuals are mixed up and messed up and they're waiting on you to come along and help them out. We're helping you out. These books will help you out. Arkansas Angels, it'll pump you up. Inspirational stories, gospel preachers that were willing to lay their life down back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s. And then an account of an individual that is converted in the 80s. Very great inspirational read. Some individuals have read this book in a day. Others 2 or 3, 4 days. It's a very easy read, very engaging, and it will encourage you. Also, it's a tool. You can give it away and get another. It's time we spent some money on something that was worthwhile. Headlines. Jewish police turned Christian escapes Damascus today. Helped out a window in a large basket. Really? Did that really happen? Yes, it did. Acts 9:24. But their laying wait was known of Saul, and they watched the gates day and night to kill him. Then the disciples took him by night and let him down by the wall in a basket. Man, what a fascinating account this is. And the individuals in it, you know what this will do? If you actually engage yourself in these storylines, it will change you. It will change you into, you cannot help but admire these individuals and realize, this is my example. Our preacher won't do anything like that. He never gets in any kind of dangerous situations. Well, guess what? Your preacher isn't your example. Here is your example. This is Saul of Tarsus. This guy was killing Christians, and they were still just preaching everywhere. And then he ends up himself converting and becoming what he was trying to kill, and he ends up escaping out of Damascus while the enemy's trying to search for him in a basket. Who helped him? His companions at night. What a fascinating story. Headlines. One of the sect, end quote, of Nazarenes put to death in Zion. Man, does this just keep going? Yes, it does. Acts chapter 12, verse 1. Now about that time Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church, and he killed James, the brother of John, with a sword. One of the sect of the Nazarenes put to death in Zion. Headlines. Plans for the second death after Passover. You don't want to be involved in something like this during the Passover, the Jewish Passover. So Peter basically watches as James is taken out of jail and killed with the sword, and he's still in prison waiting for the Passover to be concluded, and he's expecting to die himself. Acts chapter 12, verse 3, and because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. Now, Acts headlines, death row inmate escapes. Acts 12:11. And when Peter was come to himself, he said, Now I know of a surety that the Lord has sent his angel and delivered me out of the hand of Herod and from all the expectation of the people of the Jews. You know, some individuals suffer to a great degree, and some other individuals are delivered from that suffering, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to suffer later. They're amazed that they get another chance. But look at this, Acts 12:12. And when he had considered the thing, he came to the house of Mary, the mother of John, whose surname was Mark, where many were gathered together praying. How about that? He finds himself outside the jail, outside the prison, in the streets, and he is able to come to Mary's house, the mother of John Mark, and they were gathered together, and what were they doing? They were praying for him. Man, part of the company, part of the individuals that are making these headlines. What a thrilling life. Top agitator caught. What? The top agitator is caught. What is it? Acts 16:23. And when they had laid many stripes upon them, they cast them into prison, charging the jailer to keep them safely. That is Paul and Silas, top agitator in Philippi. They're caught. What do? Now they're in jail. They've been beaten with many stripes. Acts 16:40, when they went out of the prison, it was a miracle. They had an earthquake. When they went out of the prison and entered into the house of Lydia, when they had seen the brethren, they comforted them and departed. They're part of the company. They go to Lydia's house. They've been beaten. They have had an earthquake. They taught the jailer and his family. They are all baptized at midnight, after midnight. And then the authorities come to let them go because they found out that they called the authorities to let them go. I can't remember exactly if they already knew they were Romans, but it was told to them that they were Romans. Paul said, we're Romans and you're not going to just send us out like this. You've already beaten us uncondemned. And so they let them go. And where they go? They go to their company, to Lydia. When they had seen their brethren, they comforted them and they departed. Headlines: worldwide top troubler apprehended in the capital today. Capital city being Jerusalem. Acts 21:27. When the 7 days were almost ended, the Jews which were of Asia, when they saw him, that is Paul, in the temple, they stirred up all the people and laid hands on him, crying out, Men of Israel, help! This is the man. This is the man what? The top worldwide troubler. We have caught him, and they put him in jail. Headline: Just in disciples with Jesus. I'm sorry. Just in quotes, disciples with Jesus diagnosed. What? Say the headlines? Yes, here they are. Acts 4:13. What is wrong with these people? How is it that they're they're in a position to do this? Look, it's in the detail. Acts 4:13. When they saw the boldness of Peter and John, they perceived that they were unlearned and ignorant men, and they marveled. They took knowledge of them. They had been with Jesus. You know what you have to do? Sometimes, you remember what we were saying about muscle and shovel? Sometimes you have to dig deep. Can we dig deep here just a little bit? Just a little bit. Acts 4:13. What is it that they perceived really when it says the boldness of Peter and John? They were unlearned and ignorant men. Let's look at this word, ignorant. Ignorant and ignoramus, ignorant, rude, and unlearned. Idiot. It is the word idiotes. That is the Greek word that is used there. And this particular word is actually talking about individuals who don't really care about politics. And that's why they're being called an idiot. It's like they don't have self-awareness. It's like, do you not realize what you're doing? Hey, that's what we started with, John 15. The disciples came to Jesus and said, do you not realize that the Pharisees were offended? Jesus didn't care. He was not concerned about that political correct stuff. Now, folks, that's where we are tonight. We made a full circle, and we basically diagnosed individuals. You just basically have to be the kind of person that some individuals will end up calling you an idiot for the way that you're behaving. But guess what? They can tell, other people can tell you've been with Jesus, and that's why you are acting the way you do, and you're getting accomplished the way things that you're getting accomplished. I'm out of time. Appreciate you for being with us on What Does the Bible Say? You know, you can tell people about us on YouTube. Just simply type in my name, Johnny Robertson, and this show will come up. You can show your elders this show, or your preacher, or friend, and rev yourself up. And then send me an email, joeblue81@gmail.com, or text me at 276-806-2150. God bless you. Always ask for what does the Bible say? Good night. That you don't know about. Now, he's going to go into Hebrews 11 here in a bit, and he's going to